Alright everybody, welcome back, and yes, you saw that right. Believe it or not, the Rafale today, at least as time of recording, and yesterday, once this video actually goes live, the Rafale got its first ever nerf. For context, the Rafale has been absolutely demolishing top tier for the past 6 months or so, with the best flight model and arguably the most meta kit for ARB. When it very first released, it had actually been arguably worse than the Mirage 2000, and it just got continuous buffs ever since. One of those was for the flight model, massively increasing the sustained turn rate, and that also means that its overall retention was increased as well, because in case you didn't know, the way that guys can actually adjust sustained turn rate in the game is by changing the Oswald efficiency. And what that does is increase or decrease the induced drag. What's crucial though is the main source for these changes in the bug report was some airshow footage. The user that did the report went ahead and went frame by frame to see exactly how many degrees per second the Rafale was doing in that airshow, which is good. The problem is that they assumed that the Rafale was at 50% fuel, despite the fact that just a little bit later in the video, it very clearly shows bingo. The pilot then adjusted the bingo amount down. If you don't know what bingo is aviation terminology for when you're low on fuel and need to return to base. So yeah, definitely not 50% of fuel, especially because whenever the pilot adjusted the bingo amount, it showed how many kilograms it was. Now, I do have a hard time believing that this was actually just purely missed if the person making the report was truly going frame by frame through the video, but regardless, the flight model dev did miss it, and somebody picked up on it. Gunjob was pinged on the forum, Squishface made a bug report, and I kid you not, in 4 days, we went from bug report to Rafale flight model nerf. And what a nerf it is. So if you just look at what Gaijin says on the changelog, it only says 1 degree per second. However, from what I have seen and what I've been told, it is definitely more than 1 degree per second. The data mines actually say it's closer to more like 2 degrees per second of sustained turn. And if you don't know, even losing 1 degree per second is a pretty big change for these flight models. The old Gripen nerf that brought it from absolute gigantic UFO to still UFO but somewhat touchable was 1 degree per second. So it made a pretty good impact on the overall flight model, and actually it made it so big that it went from the #1 1v1 dogfighter in the game to not even top 5 anymore, according to Willy Walrus, who is a respected top tier duelist. He made a short video yesterday if you want to check it out. I'll have a link in the description below. Now, 1v1s don't happen very often in ARB. This does, of course, also impact that energy retention that I was talking about earlier. It bleeds quite a bit more speed now than it used to. But the moment of truth is, does it really matter? In my opinion, while it does make a difference, it is still the best jet in the game. And there's a few reasons for that. First of all, again, 1v1s don't really happen in ARB. At least not at this battle rating. 99% of the time, you are just going to fire a missile and they either notch hit and chaff it or they die. If they do manage to avoid it, you'll just get your nose back on and fire another missile at them, and you'll keep repeating this until one of you dies. The Rafale is still very good at this. Now, it's not as good as it was before because it does bleed quite a bit more speed, but crucially, its actual pull wasn't impact. It still pulls much harder at high speed than like any other jet in the game. And of course, that's important both for getting your own missiles off and for defending against enemies, especially if you were going fast. A lot of jets like the F-15 that you're looking at, if he's going like Mach 1.5, he is not going to be able to notch in time for 8-kilometer launch from a Mika. Meanwhile, I have no issue getting into that notch, and even if I was going much faster than I am, I still would have been able to pull like 15, 16 Gs in that notch, no issue. The biggest way that I can see this impacting the Rafale and ARB is just when it comes to 1 versus many situations, which doesn't happen often, but if you're having to pull quickly, time after time to notch different missiles coming in, it won't give you enough time to get your speed back up. And you're about to see this in the background. I'm actually going to run out of chaff, believe it or not, which is incredibly difficult in this plane. But I would have died in this situation regardless, just because I had several different people all attacking me all at once, and I just simply wasn't able to get my speed back up in time. This situation is basically unsurvivable by essentially any plane at top tier, and I probably would have died in the old Rafale as well, but I would have had more of a chance just because, well, the old Rafale was an incredible UFO. And even during this, I am still going to get 1 more kill before I die, and it's all thanks to the Mika. That's the other big reason why this thing is still going to be the top dog, and this missile is just incredible for ARB. If you watched my last video on the AMRAAM C5, and if you haven't, I recommend doing so, you'll know that there are two big things that are crucial for actually having effective missiles in ARB. One of them is acceleration, and the other thing is high off bore sight capability. Being able to shoot people that are pressuring you and actually survive while you're doing it, and also having your missiles get there quickly, are incredibly important to have them actually kill the target. The more time you give them to react, the more time they have to dodge it. And in the case of something like the AMRAAM, for example, there are situations where if somebody gets too close to you while pressuring you, you will not be able to shoot them. Because look at within, 5 to 6 kilometers side aspect, and something like an R77 or a PL12 or a Mika could easily hit that, but the AMRAAM just can't. So having up to 8 of them just makes it incredibly strong. This is a big part of the reason why the Rafale had such a high win rate before, and it's going to continue staying that way if you ask me. And the Rafale still has tons of other advantages as well, like say for example having the best radar in top tier. This is incredible for situational awareness, and actually there's a bug right now where it just fills in the entire radar scope for you even when you're not scanning that area. So your already great situational awareness is just even better, and you still get the best RWR and MAWS coverage of any plane in the game. It is, as of now, the only plane that has 360-degree coverage for both. So just to recap, you now have a plane that is still good in the dogfight, but no longer the best. You still have the arguably most meta missiles for ARB. You still have all the other advantages the Rafale had beforehand. Just now, if somebody manages to catch the Rafale out, and they don't happen to catch a Mika, there's a pretty good chance they could actually win the dogfight, where beforehand they would just get slammed there as well. So not to worry, Rafale fanboys, the plane is not killed, it's still incredible. And on the plus side, you can now feel less guilty about playing an overpowered plane because it's no longer nearly as much of a UFO as it was before, if you were feeling guilty at all to begin with. That is just a course for ARB, and I wanted to give an update on the CAS situation for the Rafale as well, because I haven't really talked about, CAS yet in ground RB. And honestly, from my experience, it wasn't very pretty. Every single game that I managed to get up in the Rafale in was just this. I pop up over a ridge, I see an SLM shooting at me, I fire some of these, AASMs at him and duck back behind cover to avoid getting hit by the IRST. And then just a few seconds later, both of my missiles are shot down and I have to redo the entire thing all over again. I pop back above the ridge, he instantly sees me and starts shooting at me, and rinse and repeat. Of course, this is not just a Rafale thing, and the Rafale is still in a much better space than a lot of the other CAS options of this BR are. But from what I've been seeing, the new meta, if you can call it that, for ground RB is just bringing a lot of munitions and spamming them to try and overwhelm the IRST SLM. The Rafale can't really do that. I just wound up shooting off all 3 on this guy, and these will actually connect. And of course, you are still very capable of shooting down any planes that the new incredibly good SAMs haven't dealt with. You still get access to 6 Mikas, you still have an excellent flight model, as you can kind of just go out and clean house, even if you aren't getting any kills with the AASMs. Again, though, my experience with this is much worse than, pre-update, just because, all these new SAMs are way better at killing planes than the old SAMs were. Especially the SLM, that thing is nuts. In any case, though, hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what y'all think in the comments down below. I, for one, am incredibly happy that we got a Rafale Nerf. The thing was disgusting. But I'll catch y'all next time, and I hope you have a great day, so, peace, y'all.